not being afraid to speak to him. That was the biggest difference, was I had been scared that he was going to critique me or judge me or think I was loony, tinfoil hat kind of level, because the level of spiritual awakening that happens when you lay things at God's feet. I was hearing things. I was seeing things.
Yeah.
I was experiencing things that I thought only happened in a Pentecostal church. That I had heard about it. But then I'm closing my eyes and seeing orbs of light in the pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing, instead of lies, I'm hearing a choir, a very faint choir. And like things that just don't make sense. And I'm calling things out in arguments with my husband. No, this is not you. This is Satan attacking, and I need you to see that. It took me memorizing scripture surrounding my marriage because I didn't need to go to any more books. I didn't need to go to any more devotionals, as wonderful and as helpful and as beneficial as they can be for seasons of life. I was at the point where God said, no, you need this.
Yeah.
That's it. This is the only devotional you need. Maybe besides Jesus Calling, because I'll take that one to my grave too, because I love that one. Because it's the same every year, you get to March 31st every year, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And you get something just like the Bible. You get something different every time you read these verses. And I said, okay, God, it doesn't make sense and I'm going to get burned, but I'm going to trust you anyway. And I did. I was burned, and it felt like I was kicked while I was down, more than I can even describe. And I still somehow, it was purely God's strength. Anytime I was running low, it was, okay, God, please. And some days that's all I had. It wasn't extensive prayers. It wasn't going to the Psalms and reading out of what David said. It was remembering maybe a few words he had said. But there were days, and especially that day on the floor, all I could do was whisper, God, please help. And he did.
I love how it's those most desperate moments that we come into contact with God in the most clear and concise ways. Like the moments that we think are the worst, like we think we're just at the rock bottom of our lives. That's where we often meet God if our hearts are open to doing so. Like if you just cry out.
Exactly. And it's difficult because you don't realize how much you place your trust in other things. You just don't realize until things are stripped away. And then you're like, oh, crud. I was relying on that friendship. I was relying on that person. I was relying on that thing, that security blanket, and it didn't come through.
Yeah.
But when I relied on God and I truly opened my heart and I found that place where I can go in my head, and I've heard it referred to as like your mind palace, like where you go and it's just you and God. And mine is just simply a meadow. It's just, I don't see Jesus or God, but I know he's there. There's no, some people have a visual of what Jesus or God looks like. For me, it's just this beautiful sun-filled, flower-filled meadow with wildflowers and a bench. And I just go and I just sit on my bench, and all I hear is God. And that is the most beautiful miracle of a gift to someone who only hears these intrusive thoughts most of the time. I didn't even know people didn't have an internal monologue, that some people don't have that. My husband doesn't have that. He's really? Like, you don't, he's like, you hear voices? I'm like, I sing in my head. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm singing in my head most of the time. Like,
he said that?
I did. I said, I sing most, and he's like, I don't know if that's normal. And then we went to marriage therapy, and she was like, yeah, I do that too. And he was like,
yes. So I always ask my husband what he's thinking, like, because I'm always thinking something. There's always some kind of thoughts, and I actually love that you said that. Like you said in the beginning, if this can be just for one person, like I'm getting so much out of this too. And I have a lot of those like intrusive thoughts. I get a lot of I struggle with anxiety and depression and things like this. And every day I wake up, I read my Bible first and I pray and I have to like convince myself it's going to be a great day. And I know that sounds, I don't know, that sounds
Oh,
weird.
no. No, if you look at I don't know if you have that devotional, but or actually, no, it was one of it's called Fighting Words. And it talked about just that of waking up each day and entrusting to God again. It is not easy. And it sounds like there's some days where the enemy gets into my head and he's like, you really have to do this every day? Like,
Yeah.
you really don't trust God that much that you have to do this every single day? And I can't it's learning what the enemy's voice sounds like versus what God's voice sounds like. And it comes starting off what helped me with the level of intrusive thoughts that I was having. I mean, I felt schizophrenic at times, and I mean that sincerely because it was like 6, 7 voices all saying the different things. And it took me remembering, I have not given you a spirit of fear. I have not given you a voice of confusion. I have given you, you know, like a spirit of peace and grace and like joy. All
God's
of these
word.
things, they counteract.
I just want to emphasize just how profound that was for me. Like the way that you explained the place that you go to, you called it your mind palace, because I'm very visual. So when you describe it, I think you said sunflowers and like it's sunny and you just sit on this bench. um, I've been actively, you know, I'm figuring out the tools. I'm a few years into my walk with Jesus, so I'm figuring out the tools to combat this mental illness, the PTSD, the anxieties, the depressions, all these things, the overwhelming sense of fear. I'm finding ways, with prayer, with staying in the word, but yet like I've been crying out to God a lot because like there's more. I just want more. Like I want more of him, and I'm trying to figure these things out. And so I even downloaded like the Bible meditation apps and different things like this. But the way that you just drew that picture for me of your mind palace, like that's a little gem for me. Like that's a little jewel that I'm gonna take.
I'm glad because it
Yeah.
helped so much for me as well, truly.
Yeah, I think about my grandpa when he was alive. He used to tell me, if you ever want to find me, go sit in a tulip field somewhere. And I'm like, I don't know where I'm supposed to find a tulip field, but so it kind of gives me that visual of like creating something like that in my mind. Like for some people, it may be a beach,
Right.
sunset beach. For
Yep.
me, I could see it being like a flower field too,
Yeah.
at sunset.
Yes.
And just knowing like God is going to meet me here and just closing your eyes and breathing and listening. Yeah, that's
And
a
asking, all I do is just say, God, fill me with you. Just fill me with you. And I have chronic pain that I mean, I take pain medicine daily for like to sleep. In the morning, it's very rough. It'll be so bad that I can't grip my coffee cup some days, and so I have that for when I need it. And there are days where even that doesn't touch it, and I have to go to God, and I go to that space. I close everything else down, and I imagine that place and just sitting on the bench, and
mm.
it's just the most peaceful thing because then everything else shuts out, and he's like, "Hi, welcome back.
Oh my
I've missed you." And my pain goes away, my anxiety, the depression, and this is someone who has had severe panic attacks that we have a list that we came up with my individual therapist of what to do to help me when I have a PTSD episode.
God.
And because, for me, my panic attacks and PTSD episodes, they look very similar. And so we have this whole protocol that my husband gets. He has a little written down list and he goes and gets it. I haven't needed to take that out, and I don't know how long. And
Mm.
it's because I can go to him finally because but it's going through that journey. Like you said, you're in your journey. And I used to get so angry that I couldn't force myself. I knew the stuff, but I didn't actually know. I thought if you knew, you automatically understood, and therefore you
Yeah.
just could be. And that's not how it is.
Yeah.
You have to be pruned. You have to be refined. You just have to trust that he's next to you while it's happening because it's painful, but he's going to help with the pain.
Yeah.
He's not going to leave you like he was left on the cross. He's not going to leave us like that. And he's made promises to me that I don't know. There's been so many that have come true. That's why I still hold on to this hope. But I don't know when some of these are going to come true. But I know that he is a good God and that even if they weren't to come true, if I look more like him and I'm alone and I can be an example of what Jesus's love looks like, that's all that matters anymore. I
Mm.
don't I don't care about the health. I don't, I mean, I do. I take care of him. We're working on but I don't have that fear that, not just the fear over medical, but the fear to speak, the fear to have a voice, the
Yeah.
fear to share what is rightfully mine because it was given to me by God. I didn't do anything wrong by having a testimony. I
Yeah.
didn't do anything wrong by being born. I didn't do anything wrong with the things that have happened to me. I've made mistakes along the way, but it's what we do with those mistakes. And like I said, with that fork in the road, when you get to that fork and you so clearly know, because it sounds like you've absolutely come to that fork where you've recognized that healing either needs to happen or it's not going to. You either do it or you shut it down. And when you step foot on that path, that narrow path of healing, God welcomes you with open arms.
Yeah.
But he also says, okay, here's your armor. Like, you've got to put it on, though. You can't just hold it under your arms and run through. You have to learn how to put on your armor.